Somebody may need to. I'm glad to see you dress up, son. Your mom already, but not me.
Okay, the pledge of allegiance,
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, nobody signed in to be a recognized listener, so at this time we call to order the regular meeting of the Waterloo Board of Education. Roll call, please, Tom.
John.
Here.
Wilson. Here. Worcester.
Here.
Fletcher. Here. Jones.
Here.
We're going to deviate slightly from the agenda. The next item on the agenda is an executive session, but realizing that most of you are here we invited most of you here, many of you are here because we invited you for the accommodations. We are going to move the president's report ahead of the executive session. That way you're not sitting out here waiting for 20 minutes or half hour or whatever when we're in executive session. Before I get to the accommodations, I did want to make one comment. And it's also a accommodation of sorts. And I mentioned it at a meeting we had, I guess it was a week ago, that our treasurer, Todd Carpenter, over here, has accepted an invitation by the auditor of the state, David Yost, to join the auditor of the state's regional advisory board. So this is really quite an honor for Todd, and he was presented this opportunity because they recognize the great job he's done for our school district over the last 17 years, 18 years in perfect audits. So I want to thank Mr. Carpenter for a job well done, and I'm sure he will represent us very well with the auditor of state's advisory board. So thank you very much, Tom. And then the next thing we're going to do is the accommodations. What we kind of started doing, it used to be we just would read off some names and we have our accommodations kind of attach them to the meeting minutes, and got the idea here at the beginning of this year that probably a nice idea is everybody's worked so hard to earn their honors that they got. We thought we wanted to extend an invitation to them to have them come up, receive the accommodation in person, and go with it that way. So what I'll do is I'll call your name and your accommodation, and if you want to come up and get it, then you can kind of circle right around and have everybody else issue congratulations also. We'll go from there. So first is Emily Bueller, National Leadership Conference in Orlando. Next is Morgan Youngblood for Winter Sports Scholar Athlete. I don't know if you want Morgan to speak. Winter Sports Scholar Athlete, Sean Armstrong.
He was driving. I saw him follow the driveway. I said, don't anyone go on the roads for me.
Winter Sports Scholar Athlete, Jamie Willis. Winter Sports Scholar Athlete, Catherine Watson. Winter Sports Scholar Athlete, Ashley Smithberger. Winter Sports Scholar Athlete, Clarence Skinner. Winter Sports Scholar Athlete, Tommy Sagers.
Can I share something else about Tom Tommy, I found out here recently, and there may be others in this room that are in the same category. If there are, I apologize, I just don't know. Tommy, how many credits for college are you going to have when you graduate, man?
37.
37. Post-secondary and dual credit. He's been able to do.
Good job. Winter sports scholar athlete, Tyler Moore. Winter sports scholar athlete, Dale Mellon. Winter sports scholar athlete, Colin McHale. Winter sports scholar athlete, Tyler Turner. Winter sports scholar athlete, Megan Hoover. Good news is we had a lot of scholar athletes for the winter sports. That's always a good thing. Winter sports scholar athlete, Megan Forney. Winter sports scholar athlete, J.J. Diven.
Yeah, the other thing about JJ was winning the state champ.
Yeah, I think it was-
Oh, you got
I
it?
think there's, I think he's got another one coming here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's exciting. Winter sports scholar athlete, Angela DeAngelis. Winter sports scholar athlete, Henry Bowling. This one is for wrestling commendation for first team all-league, sectional champ, district champ, state champion, 138 pounds, second state champion in school history for J.J. Diven. Another commendation for wrestling first team all-league and sectional champ for the district champion, Brandon Brennan. Commendation for wrestling first team all-league, Josh Horn. How many years did you play first team, Josh?
3 this week.
This is third? And 3 out of 3, right? That's good, that's great. Last time I saw Josh, he was shorter than I was.
From a shoestrings and then your shirt.
Wrestling commendation, second team all-league, John Supple. Wrestling honorable mention all-league, Duncan Heisel. Wrestling honorable mention all-league, Kyle Harris. For basketball, first team all-league, all-district, special mention all-Ohio, third all-time on Marvelous scoring list, Jamie Wilson. Basketball, second team all-league, all-district, honorable mention all-Ohio, Megan Forney. Basketball, honorable mention all-league, Lauren Warren. Basketball, honorable mention all-league, Blair Weaver. Basketball, honorable mention all-league, Tommy Sayers. And basketball, honorable mention all-league, Colin McHale. Congratulations to all the students that were received your commendations today. Obviously, a lot of work and effort goes into that, and you're proud of yourself. I'm sure your parents are very proud of you, and we certainly are. So thank you very much. The next item that we're going to handle is an executive session. We'll have a motion here in a minute. We're going to recess into executive session and then probably come back in some, hopefully, in 10 to 30 minutes, hopefully, and conduct our business. You're welcome to stay. You're more welcome to stay, but obviously we realize that people have other things to do, so we will not be offended if you Can we have a motion to recess into executive session to discuss employment? Second, please. Comment? Question? Roll call, please.
Young?
Yes.
Wilson? Terry?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes. If you want to talk about online signing,
We're at your post Bye. See ya. Thanks. Yeah. Well. When is it? Hey, Johnny. Do I have to go in if you shut the door?
No.
You can always try.
This morning, you have to let us know. I'm sure we'll read about it in the paper. Did you say it was on the cover? I did. I did see that. Close it up. I'm regretting that. Names up there. I know. See, I only made it 2 grades. Look how far you've gone. She's still trying. It's taken me forever. Oh, March 21. 29. Good luck. Congratulations.
Watching me into the phone. It's them. Why did it go? Oh my gosh. Okay. I can see. Did you see that?
Right. I think that's a good idea.
No, because they were open.
I said, yeah, we do. But, I'm not going
He says, I just want to let you know. said, we'll be the world, everything.
I know.
You gotta pay for it. Okay, fine. Somebody's scratching the place, that person. Fine.
That is almost going to be like, to me, it's like a nice this.
Here, Sean Renee's freezing. Yeah, it's freezing here. It's all those nail holes. It should be a stipend.
That's why I turned my back to the cage.
That's the biggest part.
That was good. Good. Okay. What else should we have here? Her increasing education.
Was that the one who called you back today?
Yeah.
Or that was the other? Okay, from mine.
Oh. So glad you went there. What do you think? We've eliminated technology.
Did you see it? The science, social studies, vendor thing. I just sent it out today.
Okay.
It was, Andy had sent me a thing, you know, Monday after school from 3 to 4, someone coming on a vendor assessment. I was in social studies. So I was sending it out to all the membership, you know, to anyone that teaches science, social studies that, you know, this could be used to. I did, I knew you were crazy, and I knew
Stick my tongue out at you.
that was. So I sent it over to Tara, and he says, Tara, because I didn't hear any talk at that meeting. You know, sometimes if it comes from you, you don't know, or whatever. It's
Yeah.
good for me. Sometimes everything is so good.
Well, it's enough for her.
They put a little more
She learned
work
her
to it,
lesson.
you know.
It's really good.
You know, I had so much better.
Okay.
Joke. Anyway.
Okay, we're ready to go to the beach. Yeah. No.
But I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, right. Oh, yeah, she's done. She told me to everyone
No.
in her area. Because when we look at this,
Okay.
you know, I mean,
Tell me that she is sick.
well, for the primary,
So I decided. So I
K1,
decided.
2, 3. I mean, there's still a lot of, you know, all this social exposure.
Lots of other side things. All right. UVA, five. Yes, I'll have
Eight.
5.
I mean, that's a lot of people who would be affected.
mean, instead of having to do an SLO, we would have a vendor assessment instead of the SLO. I mean, that's a plus. But we also say gives the opportunity for these, especially down our way, to have multiple measures of student growth. Because now if we have the stars, reading, stars, math, this amount of science and social science and social inclusion. That's a 5 multiple measure sheet. Good. Right. That was stuff.
Teachers in the
Oh, yeah, I totally agree with that. I wish I could. It may, because well, I heard that one was already introduced and supposedly I haven't seen it dropped yet in the legislature since they haven't got it on the because they you think? Here it is. Senate Education Chair Peggy Lerner from Kelly. Where's Kelly? I know I've heard. Where's Kelly? Yeah, I think I've heard. Plans to lower the percentage of value-added data required to be used as part of the 50% student growth. I haven't, like I said, I haven't seen anything on that. And it, oh, so yes. Yeah, and all because he said, yeah, he's on who? See, what worries me is she was the same one that was going to bring up the third grade guarantee of lowering. They just want, the way the law ended up being written, K through 3 had to be endorsed. Third grade guarantees, but then they were going to put it in, which they did. Just third grade teachers, it was not meant to K through 2 had to upgrade the persons for them. And that goes on to it's not necessarily for K through 2. Yeah, for the, as far as those go. Imagine, I don't know what that is. Tracy, I don't necessarily, I have lessons, but I don't necessarily have
You look smart for the check.
I know, are you freezing?
It's colder.
There's all back here, there's no one else. We're all back here against the windows freezing, like idiots, number one. Those are the most uncomfortable seats to sit in, I hate sitting in them.
No, they were going to put this, the Medicaid expansion. But that was one of the things that kind of Obamacare, that is very close that they couldn't force it. So
Yeah.
so the states have to do that.
Just count.
But what they did do is that
From a science, social studies, then 20 out of 80, that's a big
and there are
pull.
funds available when you treat indigent patients or something.
Take out
And so
the final.
there are program reductions to the positions. And those are going to be out. Well, I don't care. It's a big deal how many people get covered. But it was taking money from that program to pay to care for those people and put it into a structured program like Medicaid for the state exchanges. All the people expand Medicaid they did, they should do it right, if they do it, but if they don't have a proper budget, though, they're never pressing time, to get it done.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a school board meeting?
Yes. They're just.
They're in the executive session.
Oh, they're in the executive I don't know, I need a bit of time. What you call it, crap stuff, or I know, yeah, get through the night. Yeah, I can play any words on my load. Because they've been building it, they have built it now for years. They're sitting right under that. Oh, yeah, there we go. Trajectory's right there. It's kind of, yeah. As much as I'm involved in my evening time, I was back home all day, and so, trust me,
What's your name? That's young Gail. I'm actually thinking about running for school board, so I would look at some of the meetings and stuff, and then, so I better get, something else involved, it's just, what's your name? I have, my daughter Katie graduated, 2000. When did you graduate? She was sophomore college, so that would have been 2011. I was so serious.
like this, yeah. I said, I'm much better.
Because it is.
I know, have some.
Have you ever been to a meeting?
They're little. And that's when I got them. Actually, matter of fact, right here. We can try.
So you finally get stuff done, or you have to take it out of your classes?
Fascinating, and listening to amazing things.
Blue and green. There we go.
Yeah, it's always serving the legs, I was so busy raising kids and working, and then just, you got time to maybe look into something, and I have a college professor, so I'm in education, so I'm lucky and all that, so I think, maybe that would be, that's a good connection for me.
Right.
That people would think, and, bring some perspective.
Yeah.
I got my little papers, and just see. Are you a teacher? Obviously. You teach here? What grade? First grade. They say it's gotta be first grade, yeah. Oh my gosh.
You know?
Like you said.
Yeah. Well,
In my school teacher first grade, I don't think I ever read education, I couldn't have logical conversations. But really, it takes
kind of a section here.
really directing attention, so I have a lot of respect for elementary teachers for that. Just really just trying to get people to the point where you can teach perspective. I just never probably would understand.
Some it's not available anywhere. And so do a lot of scrambles to find the time on how much you got to start.
Oh, they were taking a session.
Our farmers really doing it. Oh, that's right. Yeah, they know.
There was no hardship.
Right.
I guess I don't live in a bigger world, like the language and stuff like that, so.
They're usually pretty quiet.
Yeah. We've got a lot of viewers from.
Are there any creative choices?
I've done that, and it's really not that big of a deal. I watch it from home. And I'm watching it positive, watching things around. So, yeah, I mean,
They don't
I have to
to
say
short
that that's kind of a
price.
Especially on any new drug.
What do you think are the most pressing matters?
I would say, back to the 5 days,
Because with the drug card, I don't know.
the shared, field.
Superintendent?
That's crazy.
It's actually a horrible idea, because which superintendent are you thinking of sharing? check that out. You sure? I don't know if there was one last week. I didn't get a chance to tell you what I watched. Did you go to either one of those? Listen to what was the deal with that?
Just community input, that's something that the board has done a great job with, is having our opinions. And there was a lot of field community chambers here.
Yeah. Well, I know there's one field and then there was one here. I know personally, one wasn't even meant to. There's small one.
So yeah, very preliminary stages, and a long way from making a decision.
I mean, to me, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because you have two school districts that are, I mean, you sometimes have one superintendent that's in charge of one school district that's way bigger than the other ones are. But the problem is, you know, in working with school districts that I know, because I work with so many teachers, is the fact that each, I know that it sounds pretty intuitive, it's true, each one has their own identity and agenda and personality, and they can be way different. So a leader who is seemingly effective in one place, it could be very ineffective in another place because they feature some of the personality of that school district. It's like a pastor who goes to and does really well, and they go here and they can't they follow the leadership as they do represent something.
And you can get them through mail or on this other stuff. And then
So,
price. But you will go down to
I think that would be quite a challenge. Because there's no way that we say, okay, we've done what we here, we do successful, that is going to be totally the same somewhere else.
on
And that would be.
Right. Because they want you to be
You're just simply switching off. It's like having a 14-year-old kid and a 2-year-old. How do you do a 2-year-old and 14-year-old because they're usually different?
Some of that stuff came up for me when I was starting to shop things up, and they came out with this new stuff, this called I know. You know, all the friends, they said, no, it comes with no part of the payment will be $400 per job. Mine and his part, and then I'm using their insurance. I'm like, oh. You know, and so I said, you think this is really going to work? You know, no. Yeah. I got to better see 2020, but then we get done with that shot. So I said, here. No, that was the right. Of course, it was, you know, it was in the drum too. Here, thank you. That's because you know there's this chronic disease. Believe it or not. Yeah, I mean, I guess you just start creating all kinds of things. But when you're facing it right then, and they want to use the new meds on you right then, luckily, you know, that they went ahead and did it and they made it wrong right then. So then we don't have anything, you know, that. So something like that, we don't even realize it was. So then we put out the paper, and then they had some materials on the disease that we could use. Unfortunately, it didn't help them. You know, you only ever got 2 shots. Oh, no, $400, I couldn't agree, you know, but that was just there, unless, you know, Dr. Lilly knows that they had not taken this aside, you know, and there's this thing called the Lyme disease. Why don't you look into that? They made a call. I think that's what it was. It's actually a call. We're talking about okay, Is it? Does it? I don't know. I don't remember. But it paid. Yes. To get there, it's just easier to go straight out 76, 77. Yeah, that could be. We always went there. You only had to put a care building, professional buildings. We always went. But he doesn't have to go as often as he doesn't have to shop. He don't do anything. Yeah, it seemed, knock on wood, but in a way, even if he got worse, it wouldn't matter. Most of the time, Lloyd wears a patch on him, especially like if he's driving or something, so that he doesn't, because if not, he has to squint shut because, you know, your eyes work together. And when you have one eye that's so messed up, you know, I mean, it's not, you hate to say it, but as long as the doctor was told you couldn't see anything, you can see just enough that it messes up looking with your other eye, you know. So lots of times he, like driving and stuff like that, he just wears the patch so it doesn't squint. Because I was always worried, when you squint, you kind of squint another eye a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And so, we're gonna get up there and do it on his poor guy. No, I know, that's this. Yeah, knees, hips, whatever, but man, the vision is there. I swear I have no hearing, I swear. And I almost repeated myself. The kids always say something, I'm like, what? And then they think they said the wrong thing. And I'm like, no, honestly, I can't hear you. Because then they won't say anything. I know, but seriously, yeah, I could honestly, I have no idea if you were right or wrong. I couldn't hear anything you said. Oh, except for a couple of them, and how you hear their voices. I know. You did. I stayed. I know. We all put our heads down on the table. So that we're sleeping when they come back. Let's do that, Sean. Let's just do that. I think Andy would get a kick out of it. We're all snoring over here.
My husband says I snore loud, so I'm trying.
I know, so does mine. He yells at me. He used to grind his teeth back. Oh yeah, I could hear it when I go to one floor down, another room over. But you know what, after I had his neck surgery, I quit doing it. What plans do we have this weekend? No, I helped my sister get some more stuff from when they first started moving up here. My brother-in-law made a trip to Carrollton to bring like lawnmower and lawn furniture and all that kind of stuff. You know, he had stuffed a bunch of stuff in his mother's garage at Carrollton. And plus a whole bunch of other stuff. He rented a big U-Haul, you know, had it slammed full. So Lee and I are going to take his pickup truck down, and Bonnie and Roger are actually renting like a smaller U-Haul to get the rest of the stuff out of Carrollton to up here. I think Saturday's going to be okay, just chilly. And that's why, because at first, one of Roger's friends from Carrollton said, oh, I've got a trailer in my pickup truck. But then Bonnie got to worrying if the weather was bad, you know. And we do have plans for Saturday night to go out to dinner. She said this way, it can sit there and close locked up if we don't get it all done. You know, lawn furniture and lawnmower. I mean, that will get out of Lee's truck right away, you know. But the other things, so there's still boxes and stuff, you know, some other stuff like that. Stuff that Bonnie actually packed when they first sold their house in South Carolina, their home. And then, you know, they moved to another place in South Carolina for a little while too, before they finally got up here. And they finally got a job up here. Yeah, that's all right. Doesn't good. So we're going to do that when we go to dinner. And Sunday will be the usual stack of papers. I never get to them through the week. time, that's how we watch pretty much everything is DVR. That cable goes outrageous, but I can't stay up. I can't stay up and watch it. I have a DVR. I know. Then who wakes up early? What did we do before the internet then when you could look and see right away what happened? I know. Well, there's all the temperature shows and some of them I like to, there's no way I see it. No. No, I didn't start that. My favorite was Justified. Yeah. Justified. I think we caught it on Smash. I don't understand too much of it. Smash. I just like the music. The show about Broadway musical. I love the music. It has that McPhee, Catherine McPhee that was running up on the title a lot of years back. Oh, I hate reality. I've never been a reality show person. I'm not big into those. That's why you catch the last couple of episodes and I just didn't do this. Then never watch those. Or for some reason was always good on dancing in the snow. I think it has something to do with the outfits. You know. That, I don't. No, that wasn't it. Wasn't the outfits, you know. Every week you can see who's going to be the skinniest, you know. Talk about two-sided tape. They have to have big rolls of it. Big rolls. Academy Awards, Oscars or something. Oh, yeah. Probably wrapped in duct tape underneath there. Just for that. And think about it if you never make it up there. I mean, if you go through all that, you didn't win. Oh, yeah, I'm sure they are. Well, that's true. It is the red carpet. I forgot about that. Yeah. Really? I know. She had a honking mark and they don't know what to get there. I know. King Rogers was the other one. Terrible after his plastic surgery. You couldn't even recognize him. Or Priscilla Presley. She's the one that she had that plastic surgery. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. That was Roy's favorite. For a lot of years. 15, 25, something. Huh. No, that's right. You know, Bob Hamilton and I are the only ones that eat in the teacher lounge, you know. And we were sitting there talking and all of a sudden the lights go out on us. You know, we're going, how sad is this? You know.
But the timer is.
Yeah, they go off when no activity.
Yeah.
They have that like in the bathrooms and everything, so the kids, when you're not in there, you know, it. It is always cold in here.
You have to put John River as the worst plastic surgery.
Although I thought Priscilla Presley looked pretty bad. I saw her when it was like, I guess it must have been that Dancing with the Stars. I went, oh my gosh. But you're right. Joan Rivers, it's like, because how old is she, 105? I mean, you're not even sure, right? Maybe 150, I'm not sure, but you know, I'd like to know who's holding her up behind her. Someone's propping her up. You gotta think about it, you know. I guess I give her credit, she's still out there going. Yeah. But her face is so tight, she can't even hardly talk.
Yeah, I just couldn't imagine. I'll take my few, maybe my many.
Yeah.
Growing number of.
I mean, these are battle scars. I've won every one of these things. Worked hard for them, by golly. We're still going to sit through Andy's state of the schools address. Because God bless him, what he can say in 5 minutes, he'll take 30.
Well, thankfully, I have no record of results.
I don't want to be rude. I'm Thora Green, but I don't know if I should know your name or not.
No, you shouldn't.
Okay.
I'm Neil Pavliga. I'm Katie Pavliga, Stephen Pavliga's mom. They both go together in high school.
Oh, okay. Did they go?
Actually, they went to St. Joe's Park.
Okay, I'm 5th grade, so
Yeah.
all right.
So, yes, thank you for
Nice to
asking.
meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Tracy Roman, going to Principal Elementary
Yes.
School. I've never met anyone on Twitter.
I know, same here. I was
So-
thinking, okay, I don't want to be rude, and
Yes.
I'm the kind that usually just opens my mouth and asks
Well,
anyway,
I think
so.
that's really nice and normally I just usually like to respond, and I realize too, I kind of go and just ask people their names and stuff like that because it's much less awkward, because most of the time they don't know you and you don't know, so if you just say, hey, what's your name? That's just-
Right, right.
So, yes, I've just been a little bit more, I'm considering running for school board, you know, and it's just
Oh.
something that I
Mhm.
have thought about for a long time, and I've always been one to look at the messages, you know, I'm afraid today with what's going on. but
Right.
I think, you know, I better probably come to a meeting and look a little bit more, you know.
Mhm,
But, yeah. I'm
Well, good for you.
Yeah, I just thought it was something that I always thought about doing for a long time. I think that sometimes we need to just move forward with these ideas and at least be able to check them out. So,
Right, right.
so I work with teachers. I'm actually a professor at Belong, and I do professional development over there, and I'm constantly, you know, encouraged with the ideas of, you know,
Oh,
the
my
teachers
golly,
that are
okay.
coming in. And you know, we actively solve the issues and work in research and do those things over there. So I'm thinking, wow, I do that, why not do it in my own local area and just see if that was a place where I think I could be involved.
What kind of PD do you do?
Usually I teach what, we do the professional development seminars. I teach, you know, mostly graduate students, PhD students, and then we also do the professional development credits, you know, for the licensure and
Oh,
stuff like that
okay.
nature. And it's part of my piece that, you know, my doctorate degree is in educational psychology, so I tend to get the pieces of the pie that have to do with the child development, you know, the psychological pieces, you know, the special needs kids and whatever, because that's more, you know, what my background is with counseling and with that. So anything that comes in, and we go every year to the community, you know, the teachers and say, what are the issues that are going on in the classrooms? And then those are brought back to the faculty, and we come up with actually new courses and new research with which to address the issues. So it's a very dynamic and ongoing process. It's in fact, this year it was brought to me at our meeting that people were looking for peer mentoring and mediation programs, you know, to talk about that. So that was given to me, and I'm, you know, currently instructing a program now for peer mediation. That would be like a 2 credit hour seminar, but that would be a long term.
Oh, okay.
But no, that's what we do though. We do these, you know, for summer classes. I teach classes on care. I mean, I'm just thinking, you know, we teach character development. I teach basic educational psychology pieces, you know, which is what I do. Like some of the specialty ones are in character education, traumatized children. You know, a lot of new teachers going in there are very under-aware of the issues with the IEPs and things. So we give them more. You know, because we keep a teacher generally over 5 years. I'm sure you guys are aware of that. That you know, you have generally, you know, the early disillusionment has if somebody stays less than 5 years, usually because they were disillusioned.
Right,
You know,
right.
You know, young, we're gonna change the world, and life doesn't change because.
And then life slaps them in the face when they
It
get
does, it
there.
does, or they get, you know, a group of kids that, you know, were not what they had assumed, and
Right.
so, you know, again, it's just a level of disillusionment that sets in, and so I try to, you know, teach classes like that with that teacher that burnout and disillusionment, you know, and
Oh,
things
okay.
of that nature too, so. But, you know, just seeing that variety and the ongoing nature of the change and wanting to research, I just thought, you know what, that's something that I am interested in. I love research and I love perspective and so I thought, well, why not be able to apply that to my local schools?
Oh, good for you.
And so it's just like you said, it's in that holding thought right now, you know, where I want to serve, you know, publicly or
Mhm.
something. Because, you know, my kids are older now, I actually have time to do something.
Have you been in the community for?
We lived here, my husband and I got married, what was 23 years ago, yeah, and I at that time taught in Akron, and he was in Youngstown, so we needed that greater sort of.
Oh,
Atwater,
okay. Yeah,
Alliance,
yeah.
And so we looked at a house in Bowler on 44, and we were there for many years, and just moved over to New York when I kept having some kids, so. we lived
Oh,
here.
okay.
And so, yeah, we've been here since we were married, so.
Oh, wow.
So then the kids went to St. Joe and then, here in school, so. So that's kind of how I work.
Welcome to our meaningless meeting.
Well, you know, usually I always been here for the bigger meetings, you know, when the
I
place is
know,
packed, you
I know.
know, the ones with the levies and things like that, but I was so, you know, wanted to be able to come in here and, you know, they got the seats set up everywhere.
It was
the
pretty
doors
good
there.
size then. What was that, April 1st, Sean Renee, the one about possibly sharing the superintendent?
Yeah.
Which I have to tell you, I hadn't seen you, I really liked you. I'm glad someone said that. I know, not a girl, not a girl.
Just never know when it'll come out.
I have a tendency to do that too. Sometimes afterwards I go, seriously, Clara, you opened your mouth again.
Oh, yeah.
Opinions are always good, they always bring perspective.
Yeah, they
Especially
do.
informed ones.
Did you go over to field, Sean?
I did not.
Yeah, I know.
It was actually.
Pam did, didn't she? Pam did. And I know Tara did, and I think Kim did, Chandra. Well, I kept trying to watch it on the feed, but it kept popping off. I don't know what the problem was, but they said that one was lit up pretty good.
figured it would be.
Oh, yeah. Their board's not in a good place right now.
The board, the community. it's
Right.
just-
Well, just back to what I was telling her, that it seems like a logical thing to, you know, because if you have two smaller school districts, but if you would see each school district is so inherently different. And
Right.
A leader that is effective in one place might be rendered ineffective in another.
Well, and it would be a little different if we were pretty comparable size-wise, but they're twice as we are. And the support staff that they have, that we don't have, is really unbelievable. I mean, when you look at the chain of command being 3, and if Andy's over there one day, and if one of our principals has to be somewhere else, now we're looking at a chain of command of 1. You know, what chain is there that? You know, there isn't anything. That's unfair to our administrative staff, you know, in that sense. And I just, you know, I congratulate the board on trying to find the funds to put as many teachers, you know, in the classroom as possible. Being a classroom teacher, you know, I know, but I just don't, you know, there's one working. And no matter what, knowing where field is, you know Andy's time would be involved over there.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, so. Like I say, that's my opinion.
But, you know, the budget cuts have to come from somewhere. How old is their superintendent been there a long time? I don't even, I'm not even. know.
Year and a half, 2 years, Beth been there at that.
Oh.
And she was assistant superintendent. They've had superintendent issues for,
10 years, they've had 7 and 10 years.
yeah, it's been bad.
Wow, I was unaware of that. That's problematic, just that.
Oh, yeah, there was one superintendent that filed, I mean, it was unbelievable, the amount of unfair labor. Oh my gosh, it was just an unbelievable amount of unfair labor practices, of what they would file against the
the Field Teachers Association, it was, oh, there was no working relationship there whatsoever. Was that Dave? No, Dave, yeah. Forgot the name. I can't remember the names. It comes in a hard place.
But that would be a fundamental difference, just like I said, you got, so many things that are different, and then you put one person up here, and the other one goes there, you almost render yourself in perspective, which by virtue of each right out too far. So, I mean, I'm always thinking, psychologically, good job, people, can do things, and so, the idea is if you put most of your eggs in one basket versus a little bit of that you're not, mediocre at large, but rather very capable in that sense.
Tara went up to the one individual that said, yeah, well, wait a minute, we're excellent with distinction and Waterloo's just effective. Oh, Tara went up to him after and said, listen, as only Tara can. Probably Tara can do a better job than I can in that sense. She said, we were also in that same spot, but I'll tell you right now, I've taught 3 different subjects in 2 years, so let me explain something to you. When your levies don't pass, you're going to be going down the same, Tara that minces no words whatsoever, spares nothing. She was most upset with that individual.
What did your husband do? Is he a professor too? He's an architect. He works all over, just doing whatever needs done. Actually, I teach in also private practice too, so.
Oh.
Yeah. I kind of split my time both ways.
And what grade are your daughters in, did you say?
My son Stephen is,
Oh, six. That's not-
Stephen
I
is a
thought you
junior, and he is not here as much as he was because he's taking advantage of the early post-secondary option. He's not
Okay.
free, which I think is one of the greatest things ever. That would have been offered when I was in high school. To me, that would be something that I would go to very, very,
Now look at Tommy Saviors, what, 37 credit? There's one of our seniors was
See,
just
that is so
accommodated.
fantastic, and Stevie will probably be close to that as well. It'll be 3, 6, 9, 12 classes times 3. That's really about 35
Wow.
to 36.
Wow.
Yeah, because he's got 3, 3, and then hopefully he'll do 3 and 3.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it takes a lot of parental support to be able to do that, just obviously we have time to constantly get in the car, and then, we have to be able to drive back and forth.
Right.
And things, so, but that to me should be something that should be an option that early on, if you're looking at even as a freshman, I don't think that a person needs to go back to the old tracking systems of what, we might have been used to in high school, just by virtue of the terminology. But the price and the cost of education, even a kid in 9th grade understands how am I going to pay for that. If I can start free with a freshman year into a sophomore year paid for, somebody in high school, starting high school with their parents should be very, very understanding what that program has. And Stevie was up, he's like, oh, I should go out for honor society, I should do all these different things. I said, first of all, most of those things are designed to get free college tuition, which you are already doing.
Right.
And I think not that all of those programs are great and amazing too. The whole idea is how are we going to pay for these kids' future education, and earlier on to be able to really plan that, because kids understand money, even if, and so do their parents, and say, you know what, we want to send your kids to college right now, not beginning 9th grade. Don't say, well, I'll start worrying if they'll have a 10th or 11th grader, because now you have these opportunities for them to start attending college, and if they're doing that in 9th grade, I think it will do a lot to bridge GPA in high school. It's just, because everybody understands that.
That's great.
So yeah, he took advantage of that and was doing well. So, I used to pay them for credit report cards, and people made fun of me for that. And I said, you know what, I never went to work and I'm not getting paid. So that has now saved me on both my kids' college tuition for thousands of dollars, because they want to study, they don't pay, they Again, that's controversial, some people are like, well, that's your job, but, you know, I don't just go to work and I get paid, so I just made that was your work and you would deserve some, you know, and then they have those study skills, and we're able to pursue those options ultimately, so.
Okay, I told the fifth graders
That's what we
that.
tell them.
This is their job right now.
And, you know, they see their parents go to work and receive a check. And I think that there is some, you know, we apply, you know, stimulus and responses based on the behavioral thing, you know, I do this is the result, and it's basically behavior management. So if you know, give positive reinforcements of things and you hopefully get that behavior to continue.
Oh my goodness. Sarah.
Wow, maybe I can see part of the meeting for you. But do have to check and see if it's less cold. Because I'm thinking the trajectory of that air is right there. It is better there.
I know. Well, I want a little table up there because I can't stand sitting in those chairs to be less cold.
Rearrange the furniture, just move all the tables out.
We should. What are they gonna do?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go.
I think since the one places, because it's way different there, obviously. Are we doing, girls?
I'm fine.
I'm freezing. Oh, I'm freezing. Need to be out of that direction.
Come on, girls. Let's surprise them when it comes.
Surprise them, none of us are here.
Shaking back there freezing. Yep, all right. You guys aren't moving?
Sean, you want us to pull it up? We'll pull it up. What Sean,
You go right there.
can be rearranged back.
Or do we have to put Pam and Chuck back here?
If we want to go home right now, or probably. The person will be coming to use it for your turn.
I know.
Oh, do you know whose water this is?
No, that was someone that came in, that left, that, I don't know who was sitting there. She probably moved it somewhere. I know. I don't know, teaching this stand up talking for
We sort of sit there chairs.
I know.
Oh, just slide up to the table.
No, just
Kidding.
I'm just kidding. No, tell them we all want to be on camera. Are you sitting there on the side? All right. We'll put your hand over there. I'm gonna sit right here beside you. Chuck's on the other side.
closer to you. We were cold. It's chilly back down here. Freezing. I'm doing our
I thought I heard you say between 10 and 50 minutes. Well, we're not at 60 yet. Really going. Kids ready for summer?
I know I sent them.
Oh, I'm sure you did. That was the understanding, wasn't it? That we were
I think
going
we're
to.
gonna go. Sure, exactly. I think we have a little ways to go. So we're still alive here? It's pretty impressive that you sat here the whole time.
But that's.
Talked and don't have to worry about it. We have to go back and watch and see if we can slip.
It'll be interesting. I didn't slip. Every time we do it, it's like it's not, we look at everybody else and
Did Mason, she said she could.
yes, I sent it out to
For summer vacation.
everyone.
Yeah, how you can plan.
I just,
We usually head up to my folks and we would be. We do that usually for a week or two.
So, did they live up there, or you originally from?
My dad's went up there.
Okay, that's what I did.
When he retired.
They got my son's computer.
The high school, okay, it was just, so one might.
It'll be nice.
Okay.
Go to the woods.
So I'm
What drives that?
You can do it in 8 with the kids. It's typically 10. We'll stop at my brother's in Detroit. And he's outside Detroit. We'll spend the night there and then go the rest
So I
of the
just
way.
went to that.
Yeah, break it up.
Maybe I forgot because I first sent it to Carol was the only one that had a free moment to read it over quick before I sent it to everyone else, so I might have forgotten. I said that. I know you're still looking at possibly everything. Okay. And I just had church. Always going to try to do anything. That's one of these days we get it done. Yeah. That's literally why we moved up here. Not because I wanted to see your smiling face, huh?
It was freezing.
Really? Abbreviated version?
And you'll leave by 5 till 9? Regular TV.
chance to send your stuff over to print that on.
State house?
I like the old architecture. That was neat, the way they kept the old, you know. Yeah, they kept the old, but they dressed it up. It was really nice. Listen, people, the minute you were there, I mean, you think those folks who were sitting there after seeing, what, 30 people that day? However, there must have been about enough people because you see what they've done in the trust. I said, you sit down. Oh, no, yeah.
I said that I don't see
That's fine.
I know, see, me, it's something I'm gonna.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
Then I saw.
Well,
Teacher Mitch is not.
Yes, but, their age behind them with all their laptops and everything.
I heard, last Friday, wife was nice enough. Took me to dinner with us somewhere.
Oh, truck problem. Yeah.
Well, that was a story.
Well,
So you never did get started? You never does it?
yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a few things like that. You know, they're better than
Let's just see with everybody here at school. Somebody else living there.
Oh, I know. Thanks.
That's okay. It's here, they go bail out.
Yeah. You're one, you're out of the loop there. I guess. I didn't check. Did you turn that over? Oh, that's still recording. I hope you were saying all kinds of nice things about it, because that's the microphone right there, and you can hear a mouse too. That's good. You're saying good things, right?
Okay, we're gonna,
We're ready.
Yeah, we're starting to move back. I apologize, it took a little longer than the 20 to 30 minutes we were hoping for.
You said 10.
Okay, we appreciate that.
Thank you. We tried to talk as fast as we could,
You guys should have ran and got the space here.
You won't turn your air conditioning on during the summer, but you turn it on now.
And then exercise class, and I think it was on jump jacks.
Not in the budget.
Did the squirrels
We, just before we move on to the next item on the agenda, wanted to mention that, we had a meeting last Monday here, to discuss shared services with, Field School District, and then we had a meeting at Field on Thursday, joint meeting to also discuss shared services. And while there was nothing definitive that came out of those meetings, we are planning to continue to proceed with at least having general discussions about if that would work, and if so, how it would look. So I want to keep everybody informed as we continue through the process. And we will obviously be publicizing when we have another joint meeting with them. We'll be publicizing that and giving you an opportunity to come. Okay, that brings us to item 6. Andy, superintendent's report.
Is there have to be a vote to reconvene from executive? Okay. Under the superintendent's report, the first 3 items are written out on the detail sheet, so unless there's any questions, I don't have anything else to add to that. The naming rights discussion. So we've had conversations in the past in regards to our stadium. We have the athletic boosters, in particular Frank Rossi, who are out trying to find donors, not necessarily in our community, but outside of our community too. Frank's intention is to go after large companies and see if he can find some or one that's willing to donate to it. I think Frank's primary goal initially is for a new track, but ultimately, if there could be a new stadium facility up there, that would be good too. Prior to my arrival, I think there had been some work done, maybe when this project was done, on what the cost would be for a new facility like that. I think that amount was in the maybe $2 million range or something. So Frank has asked in regards to if he can get a big donor to donate money, are we willing to give away naming rights for different things? And Frank was thinking, these are just examples, to recognize people that give to the fund. I think his minimum threshold, he was thinking, was like $250, and there would be some type of something at the stadium area recognizing them. But he wanted to know on the large end, what type of dollar amount would we be looking for to have the stadium named after somebody. He had thrown out there $250,000. And then in some conversation with you, Lisa had pointed out, oh, that's great. In the grand scheme of it, we're looking at our new stadium facility, the ultimate goal through donations. $250,000 is not a lot of that $2 million. And so should we be giving the naming right for the large project for a dollar amount, which would be fantastic, but is it enough? And so we wanted to have some discussion on here that tonight, so I can give Frank some guidance. That's all.
The only reason I was saying, I was part of the group whenever we were trying to find out how much the all-weather track was. The all-weather track, if we just put an all-weather track on the track we have now, it would only be 6 lanes. You have to have 8 lanes to even have a PTCD. So, to have 8 lanes, the inside metal that East Manufacturing made years ago would have to be taken up. The whole shape of the track would have to be changed. The fence that's along the track would have to be pushed back to where the bleachers are now. And it was, at that time, and that was, oh my gosh, that was probably 5 years ago, it was $250,000.
Well, also, I remember at one point, if we put the 8 lanes in, we'd have to move the bleachers.
No,
We could do it without moving the bleachers?
we wouldn't have any lane in front of the bleachers. And luckily, our bleachers,
Feet from both sides.
well, except for the middle. In the middle one, we would have to change the steps, and we're okay on clearance and all that.
Okay.
But then that Jared's law came into place, we were messing with that, and so he thought it'd be more money. But the drawing that we have in the board office, which is, it's probably 8 or 9 years old now, that at the time was about a little over $1.5 million, somewhere in there. So just those numbers alone, and that's been, like I said, that long ago. I'm sure it's closer. I believe the most recent quote that Denise Horning that was here, we could have asked her, she's on the fundraising committee for the boosters. I believe the most recent quote she got, and I don't know, was that you?
I think she got it through me, and I got it through
Around
I
4 to 4.5, is that right?
I don't recall, to be honest, that was 2 years ago I gave it to her, I got it through ADG, but we're talking somewhere
lot.
in the at least $2 million.
That's just for
So
the
it's-
track?
No,
No,
this is for
this
the
is-
entire.
Because
stadium complex area.
the concession stand is very outdated. The press box would need to be replaced. Luckily, we got the lighting replaced with the project we did, so but there's a lot of other things that would need to be done. So yes, $250,000 is a lot of money, and yes, we could have a new track, and like I said to Andy, you could name the track after whoever they donate one to chunk. If you say the stadium is, the Joe Smith Stadium, because someone gave you $250,000 for a track, and then someone comes down the road with $2 million and says, well, I want it named after me, what are you gonna do? You can't change the name, you just need to go on that. So I think you have to be at least 51% of what the entire project would cost before you would name it after something.
I think at Baldwin Wallace, where Brady goes, I think it's Ritchie Stadium, but it's Trestle Field.
Right,
Trestle
you can name
Field
the
and
football
Ritchie
field.
Stadium.
Right. Like I said, you can name the track, if someone gave us $250,000 and we could do the track, you can name the track that. And say, like I said, the whatever track, and there are some, like, what's Timkins? It's one stadium, it's called Timkins Stadium, isn't it, and something else Field or something like that. So I mean, you can do that.
Plaza Stadium.
Yes,
Yeah.
Plaza Stadium, and so, but I just don't think as far as the stadium goes, I don't think $250,000 is even come close to what it would cost for a new stadium. So you could do the track.
And to be fair, I think Frank is focusing on trying to raise funds for the track. And I want to clarify, I already said this, but just for the sake of saying it again, this is strictly looking for donations to do this. We are not looking to take any money from anywhere in the district to do this track or stadium. Frank is very motivated to get out there and go after, and he's kind of following where I think Dave Wartliff initially had looked into doing this a few years ago, and I think that's around the time, now you mentioned, I remember that I gave Denise a number. And so Frank's trying to carry on from there.
Well, I also think too, a lot of these, when we were looking into it, a lot of places like Nike and different places like that will give you money that you have to match 40%. So even in that respect, they're paying 60%. So I think they've even got a number in their mind that 60% will be naming rights for the state, for something like that, a project like that. I would think it'd have to be between 51 and 60.
Any other thoughts?
No other thoughts?
Either you gentlemen?
The whole thing confuses me. That's a lot of money. I could,
Yeah, but-
I could imagine the kids playing in Jones Stadium, but I'm a little short this week. So,
You know, the reality is you name as much as you can name for a project. We've got a new facility, and it was basically by 4 individual donors. So not only is the building named one thing, but the field house is named another, and the fitness room is named another, and, you know, the weight room is another avenue. So there's actual, you know, a market for each aspect of the facility. And I think we would probably want to look at that, so that one, make it affordable, and two, you know, so that people can give to that particular interest that they deem most important.
I would.
I have some, I'm gonna sound like an old person.
you are.
I am, but I have some real, I guess, you know, I remember when we first consolidated, and we used to play our football games over at the middle school. I was in probably second, third grade, and I used to mess around with the football team and stuff and come here. And every Saturday after practice or JV game, the whole entire football team would go up there and they'd clear rocks off that field. I remember second, when my brother was a freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, and I was always there. And I remember the whole football team, kids from the community, just people. I mean, there were some really, really great people that spearheaded a lot of that work there. One was a gentleman by the name of Rawhide Huber, was one of the big driving forces for it. Bob Pugh, Doc Jenkins. I mean, there's just countless people in. Mr. Huber was also a school board member, and bus driver, school board member, and all that. And I know at one point back, probably 15, 20 years ago, there was a push to name the stadium after, make it the Rawhide Stadium. And at that time, there was a consensus of feeling that we really didn't want to name it for one reason or another, because it was so tough, because so many people dedicated so much work and energy to it that, you know, how do you, wow, he was a huge factor. I mean, just a great individual, great person, and just a huge factor. We probably wouldn't have gotten it done in the time frame we did without somebody like him there. It's hard to single one person out over all those other people that put in tremendous amounts of energy and effort. So the decision was made not to name the stadium there. So it just kind of, while I understand the need and to do it for for somebody donating the money and all that, and while all that's great, it's just kind of hard for me to say, you know, it's too much of to me, it's too much of a money thing. It's just not.
It's all about the money.
It's all about the money. It's not
But that
about-
doesn't mean that, you know, you can't incorporate that kind of influence into a memorial wall or something of that nature. That those are the people that historically had built the foundation of our athletic programs or you know, the school system, been very a supporter of the district. But unfortunately, there isn't any school funds that are going to go toward just direction. So it's going to have to be a sold type issue that you're looking for that donor, that marketability of the facility. And I think if you look at around the other surrounding districts, wasn't it Lake? They did all of theirs by private renovations.
Field just got, I think it was they just got a new track. And, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of that, if not all of it, was private donations and stuff.
I just don't think we can divert the money from our schools. We just don't have it for one, and I don't think we'd be accepted another, so.
Well, no, I wasn't saying to
Yeah.
divert our funds to it. It's just.
It's heartbreaking,
It's
because
just
you
kinda-
would like to say that guy had such an
Well, all
influence
those
in the
people-
district.
All
you
those
know,
people that worked up there, I mean, you know, and they're not talking like,
They are deserved.
they just stopped in on an occasional day and decided to put in a couple hours.
Aren't there professional fundraisers? people that, you know, that we could talk to and do you know of any, Chuck? I mean, yeah, you know, when I said that, the first thing I saw was Sean, but, yeah, you know what I mean? I think aren't there people that,
There are people who will organize your campaign and everything, and even sit down and develop a plan for you. And like Ken said, you know, there may be, you know, simple things like selling blocks for the applicant.
Right.
You know, that's a popular thing now where, you know, block, you know, you sell them for $100, $200 a piece. And it's a brick that you get engraved with a name, and you create that walkway into your stadium. And I agree with Lisa as well, you know, that you want a significant piece in there. And I mean, even after you know, they've got Info Station Stadium, they've got Super Field, and they've got about 4 or 5 other big names on the scoreboard that they bought the space on the scoreboard. And so, you know, those kind of things can all go towards as much naming piece as you can get in there. And it is about the money.
I guess the thing is, how do we get to those people? I mean,
Well, I think Frank knows how to do that. I think he's taken it under his wing to do that. So I don't think we as a board have to worry about it, because it's one of those things that if we get it, it's going to be a gift and we're going to be thankful for it. But I don't think we need to take the time. I mean, if you want to talk to him and work with him on your own, that's fine.
I think you almost have to have a master plan. It is, because, I mean, there's certain aspects, we've got a lot of problem with the field. You can't put in the track and then start worrying about the field too.
We know, we do, yeah.
So-
we just got that drainage fixed,
Right.
but how
But
long?
even that, the
Well, that
crown
would
of the
That,
field
that
is-
was a Band-Aid.
so-
But that's part of it, that all has to be redone. That's why whenever we were getting quotes, we had people like Dale Miller there who put the original drainage in that him and Dave would redo it. We had Paul Adams there, and he was willing to truck in the materials. And, you know, we had those kind of people there that were going to help us with the project. So we do, that is one nice thing in the community. We do have people who are willing to help us with that sort of thing. But as far as funding it, I think we will need to find some $100.
But we have a master, we kind of have a master plan we're going to stay in,
Yeah.
with the layout. That's why when we put the new lighting up, stadium, we make sure there's enough setback, so the bleachers and stuff did have to be moved to accommodate the track. You know, the lighting is kind of like the first piece, we have to make sure those poles are back far enough. So there's a plan out there, if other people wants to update that or have a different idea of what should be up there, then they have to take a look at it again. Maybe we need to resurrect that plan and just bring it forward for this.
I think we need to have, I think before anything gets done up there, it has to make sure it all fits into what the end result is, we want the end result to be.
But having some kind of a defined master plan, like we said, if you know what that total investment is, to set those thresholds, is that, you know what, if you want your name on the stadium, that's what it takes to get there. You know, if you want your name on certain pieces, parts of it, and if you define out what in your project has potential need grounds, you can say it's going to be 50%, and it's going to be 20%, or for 10%, you can get these kind of things. And at least have some kind of plan laid out that if someone wants to do that and wants to have that recognition, that's what it ought to get.
Well, I think that's all Frank really wants to play. He just needs some kind of guidelines to
He
what
just wants to be,
he
he wants to be
offers.
able to, if he gets people that are interested. I don't even think he's putting it in the letter. I've seen the letter that he wants to send, that he wants to be prepared if he gets somebody that calls him and starts to talk about that, have some parameters in mind. And I'm certain if we get to that point, we'll be back to talking about that again, to frame with us. So. Anything else on that? So the next thing I have then is the state of our schools address presentation. So typically we do this in December. Last year, first year we had about 100 people, last year we had about 10, and 7 of them were school employees. Many of them are here tonight.
We appreciate you being here.
So I thought I'd move the date a little bit. And then we tried to schedule this a few times in February and March, and we just ended up settling on tonight so that we could have the board here that wanted to be here. So what I'll do here is go through this, and then we can take questions as we go if there are any. So this is broken down. This is broken down into each of the areas of our 5-year strategic plan. So what I want to do is go through each area and kind of talk a little bit about what's been done and then where we're headed in each of the areas as we move forward from tonight on over the course of this next year. So the first area is the faculty, staff, and student personnel. And start off with figures like we always do. Student enrollment this year is our official ADM count is about 1254. Last year we were 1251, so we're right around the same number. You can see here that we do have about 40 students, I believe, that we place out of the district. Those are students who we don't have services for here, so we send them to different programs in Southeast. We have a student that we send down to a program in Stark County, some other places. We have 11 students this year in our digital academy. Last year we had 24, I think is what our maximum was. We were up to about 15 this year. We've lost a few. And then we have, I think it's 56 students at the high school level who are at Maplewood. And you can see there with the difference between the blue and the red. The red represent the number of students who are special education. And we break that out because those students represent a large proportion of our students. And the most recent data from the Ohio Department of Education has, from fiscal year 12, has our special ed population at 20% of our total student body. As far as staff goes, our certified staff, we have 78, a little over 78.35 to be exact, staff members that fall within a number of different areas. You can see the blue is regular education teachers. The red would be the special education teachers, and then green are the tutors in the district. Then that purple shade up here is all these individual. We have media specialists. We have what equates to about 0.1. She's here 1 hour a day is her duty between her full-time teaching. And then the other area is gifted. This year we actually do not have a person in the gifted area. That was a position that we lost to begin this school year. And I'll mention too, psychologists. We need school psychologists to be able to do the testing that's required for special education. By and large, that's the bulk of their job. Over the last year and a half, we've gone from 9 days is what we were using psychologist services from the county for. We are now down to 4 days a week. So we've cut that by over half over the last year. Classified staff. Our classified staff, we have 39.38 is what the full-time equivalent is here. Break this down a couple of different ways though, because position-wise, we have some people in our OPSI union that have 2 positions. They may be a bus driver and then an aide, assisting in different places. So when you look at the number of positions, it's just over 50. But when we look at the number of full-time equivalents that make up those positions, we're just under 40. And you can see the wide variety of different jobs that we have in OPSI. The bulk of our classified staff, over half of those are bus drivers. Then in administration, we have 2 principals now. We have a full-time person who splits her time half with the cafeteria and half with transportation. And then we have 1 treasurer, 1 superintendent. So we have a total of 5 administrators within the district. And that's a reduction from last year of about 1.5 positions. So each of these areas, I didn't mention certified, those certified we lost, I don't have the exact number at Thornton, but we lost a number of positions in our certified union from last year to this year also, and then dating back further in all of these areas. So I have a little list here of the things that have been lost over the last roughly 3 years with the reductions that we've had to make. A wide variety from administration to classroom core teachers to teachers that taught elective level classes for students to a number of supplemental positions, which means that those extracurricular opportunities for students have gone away. Then when we look at the student side, we also have students that are educated elsewhere that could be here in Waterloo, and for whatever reason, they've chosen to go elsewhere. So this year, our total is 204, is where those students are. The bulk of those students are through open enrollment. See, we have our open enrollment is 89 students that are out. We bring 51 in. So we have a negative impact on open enrollment. Homeschool is another large number for us. I think that's 71, what that says up there. And then community or charter schools is 44. 29 of those are students that are in online academies, full-time online schools. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. Interestingly enough, the 204 seems like a large number, but we've actually decreased that amount over the last few years. Last year, for example, we've cut down our charter school, community school students 2 years ago. That number was 66, and now it's at 44. With open enrollment, we've actually brought in 10 more this year than we have in the past, but we've also lost about 7 more. And then with the homeschool, that number is right around where it has been. We have a large population. If you remember a couple of years ago, we sent a survey to all of these families and asked them, why they chose to do what they did. And we didn't get a lot of responses back, but the ones we got, they were across the board with numerous different reasons. One of the ones with homeschool that was kind of a repetitive theme we saw was that it had a lot to do with religious issues. Everything else, including homeschool, seemed to be just convenience and a lot of other issues. It wasn't really one main theme.
Andy, real quick, each one of those kids, that represents about roughly $5,700 a piece.
Yeah, that's correct. The charter schools and the open enrollment students, those are deducted about, I think it's like $5,723 is the amount this year per kid that gets deducted from our foundation payments. These homeschool kids, they are not funded at all by the state. If they were here, that would be additional money for us, but we don't have anything being deducted for them either because the state just doesn't fund them.
So Viking Academy is not in this?
No, this is Viking Academy, our digital academy
It was back there, right?
back here.
But as far as monies go, what you're doing now as far as the kids that aren't physically.
Yeah, we're going to try, we'll talk about that here, yeah. We're going to try to, so we have enrollment opportunities, which is what Lisa's talking about. And, these kids that have gone elsewhere, especially those 29 that are in that online digital academy. So we'll talk about that when we get to the academic portion. So as we move forward in this area, in personnel and students, I think what we need to focus on here this next year are three different things. The first is we need to take money that we're able to save through things that we do. For example, we passed this levy with the expectation of getting through 5 years and knowing that we weren't going to be able to bring any services back because we went for the small amount like the community asked us to. When we have things that happen that we weren't expecting, that weren't budgeted in the forecast, like a principal retiring and us not replacing that principal position, like we currently are in the situation of as we study that the rest of this year. We want to do, my suggestion to you as we move forward is going to be, as we get those type of savings, that we turn around and we put that money back into the classrooms and where we need it, wherever that is. If we need to get, we said from the beginning with this administrative change, that we may need some assistance, may not have to be another principal, and for an individual building, but we very well may need assistance there. And that's going to impact the classroom and the kids and things too. But our goal would be to take those unanticipated savings and to invest those back into the classroom so we can start to build from all these cuts that have happened. Because that's the only way we're going to be able to build where we want to move to. I think we all recognize, and we'll see here in a few minutes, that the cuts we've done have had some detrimental effects. And so, we'll be building off of this, trying to stay true to our 5-year forecast and what we told the community we would do. At the same time, trying to funnel those resources back. I think another thing, and I didn't put the slide up here, but you saw it before, we have all of these quality people that we've lost over the last few years. Some of them because we reduced them, some of them because the situation was so unstable financially that every year they were being reduced only to be recalled at the last minute. And others because they just didn't feel safe, even though they weren't at the bottom of that list for reducing. They didn't feel safe and they moved on. And one of them told me they didn't want to be the last person left on the Titanic. And, so luckily, hopefully, I believe we've moved beyond that. But we need to do our best job too, within reason and within what we can do to be able to attract and retain the people that we have. We have a lot of good people here that are working really hard, and they've made a lot of sacrifices here for us over the course of these last few years with all of these cuts. The other thing on our personnel side that we need to continue, and we're exploring what the best way to do this is the professional development. There's so much that's happening, and we'll move into some of that in a second. But there's so much that's happening at the state level that we're required to do here, and things that we want to do to be able to give a better product to our students. That professional development and time for that is critically important. And so whether that's full waiver days, we did have one of those this year. The verdict is still out on 2-hour delays. I say that, and everybody in here says the verdict's already in, we hate them. But I think we need to really make sure that, we've tried to set those up in a way that would not inconvenience parents. And, as a result, quite honestly, that inconveniences people here when we're trying to do this stuff. But we need to take a look at what's actually being done during those times and find out whether that's the most meaningful way to do it. But whatever way we decide ultimately is best, I will be moving forward and coming to you guys with a continued request for some type of waiver days, because there's no way that we can get what we need to do with the rapid pace that stuff is happening without those. That's a very important part. And I think that ties into helping us retain our people too. To be able to provide them professional development and give them the guidance that's needed, I think helps people feel more secure in where the district is headed.
Any opportunity to do some of that like during the summer?
Possibly. There's always a possibility to do that. If we did that stuff, that would probably have to be some money we would budget in one way or the other. But there are some options, and we're taking a look at a lot of those different things with our administrative team to see what we can come up with. In the area of curriculum, instruction, and assessment, there's a lot of different things that are happening right now in these areas. You got the college and career ready standards. We got these new PARC assessments that are going to begin in the 14-15 15 year. Personally, here for us, we've started to use the Renaissance Learning Star Enterprise system to give us data to help make decisions with in the areas of reading and math. We had this probably could go into personnel too, but we have this whole teacher evaluation system and principal evaluation system that are being implemented next year according to Ohio law. We have Common Core standards that are going to be hitting here in 14, 15 also, and the work that we've begun to transition to those. But in this area here, we'll start with our report card data. Okay, so on our 11-12 report card, this is our most recent, our district was effective. And we know that over the last few years, we've slid backwards a little bit. We were excellent with distinction. We were excellent last year, and now we're effective. We'll take a look at how that designation comes about. We met 22 of 26 indicators, so the different tests that are taken at the grade levels, the graduation requirements. That's what comes into this indicator category. Our performance index, AYP, and value added, we'll look at a little further here. So our performance index this past year was 97.6. The max that can be is 120. Now, last year we had, I think, our district's all-time highest, which is at 100. Okay, the way that this is calculated, they take the number of tests taken that's scored into each of these areas. So untested, limited, basic, proficient, accelerated, and advanced. They take the number of tests and they multiply it by the weight, and that's how they come up with this percentage. So in a lot of ways, performance index is there's a lot of superintendents that would tell you that this is one of the most important things that they look at when they look at a report card, because this can show how we're doing with progressing students from year to year within these different areas and where there's some growth that's happening. AYP is adequate year to progress. Okay, this is measured within a number of different subgroups. For Waterloo, you have to have a certain threshold, I think it's 30, to be able to meet a subgroup. So for us, we really have 3 subgroups that we look at. We have all of our students. We have economically disadvantaged, which I believe our percentage now stands right around 38% of our district falls into that category. That 2 years ago was 17%. And then we have, I guess we have the white non-Hispanic category, and then students with disabilities. And I mentioned before that that's, in the most recent ODE data, 20% of our students. So they take a look and see if they made this adequate yearly progress. And what happened here this past year for us was that we had not, there's a number of different ways you can meet it. Okay, they have, you just flat out meet it. They have 2-year safe harbor through growth. We met all areas except reading in the special education area. So as a result of missing that, our district overall did not make AYP. I believe each of the buildings did. So you wonder how that happens. The reason that happens is at the high school, for example, if we were to look at the breakdown of high school AYP, we would see that if they would have had 30 in that sophomore class that tested in special education, that they would not have made AYP either, but the number was below 30, so it doesn't get reported on theirs. So with the district, they take all of those students and clump them all together, and that's how we get the district designation and how the districts can differ from buildings. Value added, this is the measure that was added about 5 or 6 years ago. This shows whether a student has made growth, as measured through their system that they've set up, value added from one year to the next. This is supposedly controlled so that regardless of what test the kid's taking and which grade, they can show whether they've made that growth over the course of a year. So we were below what was expected for this current year. Okay, 2 years ago we were above. That's how we were able to be excellent with distinction. When you make the excellent designation, and then have above value added, that bumps you up a designation. Last year, I believe that our composite was met. Graduation rates, there's two that they now report. This is the 4-year, we were at 90.4%, and the 5-year cohort, 92.5%. Our three buildings rather, elementary and middle school were effective, and the high school was excellent. The high school's been excellent for a number of years. Then if you saw the front page of I threw this in here today because if you saw the front page of the Record Courier today, you saw that they now have a new way that the report card system is going to be reported for school districts beginning this coming August. And what they've done, and it's going to change over the next few years, they're going to add a few more components to it and eventually an overall grade for the district. But what they did is so what you saw today, if you saw the paper, they took the areas that are going to be graded moving forward and applied the data from the 11-12 school year. Okay, and so you can see here, a lot of these categories are the same ones that we just looked at. Where they start to differ a little bit is when we get down to here. They're now breaking out the value added for gifted, the value added for the lowest 20% in achievement, the value added for students with disabilities, the annual measure objectives. Those, I believe, are going to be what replaces AYP. That was part of what they wrote in their federal waiver to the federal government last year. So this will be, I believe, replacing AYP. And then in a few years, they're going to start, next year, there's going to be components that they report on that they're not graded. Those are things like the number of AP classes, kids that are taking dual credit. I think the number of kids who are identified gifted versus the number of kids that are served. And then eventually over time, those are going to be a composite of one grade that I think is called something like college career readiness, something, I can tell you for sure. Called Prepared for Success is what they settled on the name for that. So that's a few years away. I think that's the 15, 16 year. Originally they were going to make those part of the report card and give a grade for each of those, but and that really comes down to punish smaller districts like us when you talk about AP classes and some of that other stuff. The reason that we don't have more of those is because we don't have money. You know, so they made some changes there. But you know, this is interesting. Obviously, we have work to do. There's no hiding from that. Okay, you've heard me say numerous times before that, you know, I don't believe that what happened this past year is a reflection on people not working hard. I think we have a number of employees that really work hard. In many cases, I would suggest they're probably working harder than they ever have with these increased class sizes, less support. I think it's a combination of two things. One, what I just said, we've increased our class sizes, especially at critical ages, where research clearly shows smaller class sizes, students achieve better. And we've done that because of financial reasons. It's not because we thought it was a great idea. And secondly, we have some things that we can probably tweak and do a better job of and maybe more efficiently utilize our resources. And so we're actively examining those areas to see what it is that we can do to hopefully be able to see more success for the students and the teachers that are working really hard in those areas. And so we're working on this, and I can assure you of that. I can assure you that while we know it wasn't because of a lack of work, people aren't happy about that either. It doesn't sit well to see Waterloo with F next to it on the front page of the paper. You know, and especially when we think back to a year ago, when they originally were talking about tweaking all of this, and they put out based off of the 10-11 data. If you remember, we sat right here at a board meeting, and I showed you how we compared in the county off of the then newly proposed system And we were tops in the county in most of the areas. You know, and we took a look at that stuff from the Ohio Board of Regents that showed that our kids were competing with every school in the county, and in a couple of the areas were the best when it came to remediation courses that had to be taken at the college level off of that Ohio Board of Regents report. So we know what we have to do here, and you know, and we're continuing to move in that direction. It's just the financial stuff has really had an impact, and so another reason why we need to funnel those monies as we can back into that classroom. Other areas is academics, just stuff that we've been working on over this past year. Our Ohio Improvement Plan. Our Ohio Improvement Plan focuses a lot on differentiated instruction, how we're going to raise those scores for different areas in math and reading for those different subgroups especially. The Common Core standards, we've devoted at least one, maybe more than one, of our waiver time days to having our teachers be kind of introduced to the Common Core and then actually go back and work in their team levels, grade levels, and then vertically with other grades in that subject area to see where those standards are changing, where the gaps are, and start to do their planning so that we have that stuff in place. We have an ACT prep class that started this year. Cliff Schmidt has done that. Originally, our intent when I last talked to you about this was Debbie Morgan was going to do it, and then Debbie left for that other job. We didn't fill the gifted position. So Cliff has taken over, and he's done, I think, at least 2 sessions, if I'm not mistaken, of that ACT prep. And he's run it a number of weeks, getting kids leading up to when the test is. We have credit flexibility. We don't have a lot of students that are taking the ability to do that, but we do have a number of options for kids to earn credits in non-traditional ways through the Credit Flex Plan. We do have dual credit happening here. We have Katie Kane has some students through Stark State who are doing a computer class, and we have through Youngstown State students in both calculus with Paul Phillips and French with Brenda Elias, who are currently taking dual credit work. Tommy Sagers, who we talked about earlier, the one that will enter college as a sophomore status with all those hours. He's part of one of the 2 classes through Youngstown State. I forget which of the 2 it is. KSU, we do have Adam Mendenhall, who's been approved to do that. I don't believe we had enough students sign up to be able to do that class though this year. AP classes, we have 2 of them that are up and running and have been for the last 2 years now with Chelsea Ritchie's art class. And I think we're on year 3 of Paul Phillips calculus. So that same calculus class that can be done as dual credit through Youngstown State can also be done AP, depending on how a student wants to do that. As you know, this past year, we were able to work to change around for this current incoming freshman class and then beyond the way that grades are done with weighted and the valedictorian and salutatorian. We'll be doing away with those designations. We're continuing to work on doing what we can with acceleration. This campus is beautifully set up for the ability to do that if we have students that are able, whether that's grade level or subject, especially not having gifted anymore. Even when we had gifted, no reflection on what Debbie Morgan was doing, but when you have one person pulling students for a half hour here or there 1 day a week, you know, not sure that we can achieve what we'd like to when you compare that to taking a student and putting them into the grade level for a subject that will be challenging to them day in and day out. And then our digital academy has a lot of different options. We have over 150 courses now that are part of that K through 12. The bulk of those are at the high school level. The students that are part of that digital academy are allowed to participate in extracurriculars here as long as they meet our criteria, eligibility, and the Ohio High School Athletic Association. And if they're full-time students, they can receive a Waterloo diploma upon graduating. Okay, this digital academy can also be used with our credit flexibility plan. and our credit recovery. We do have some students, especially over the summer, that choose to take courses through this so that they can advance to another level of the subject when they come back in the fall. And I think we've had one or two that have taken some credits through this from a class that they failed. So where do we go moving forward in this area? A couple of different things. First, we are actively working right now to publicize this digital academy. We still feel, even though we haven't had success with this, still very much believe, especially for those 29 kids that are doing this elsewhere online, that they can't find a better situation than Waterloo. Because I can guarantee you that wherever they're doing it online right now, they can't participate in extracurriculars, and they're not going to get a high school diploma in the traditional sense of Tier 1, which carries more weight. They get a Tier 2 diploma through these other online options, and that limits them in areas like the military and other places. So we're working on kind of a three-pronged approach with that. We have actually four. We have a mailer that will be going out to those students. Actually, all 204 of them come the end of this month. We're targeting the 22nd. I think we're on pace to hit that. At the same time, Matt Dockery has been working on a webpage for our digital academy that will be linked right off of our district homepage. And then at the same time, we had two of our current students who are doing very well in the academy shoot videos last week, and those are in the editing process right now. Those videos are going to be testimonials on what they've experienced in the academy, and then another video on the three things that we think that set this apart: the curriculum offerings, which ties into the ability to have local teachers here, the extracurriculars, and the diploma. Once that mailer hits, it's going to direct people back to the website to learn more. Matt's working on a way to capture that information when they get to the website. And we're also planning to make phone calls to all of those students and their parents once that mailer goes out to talk to them about this digital academy. So, if we can bring one student back, that will more than pay for the efforts that we're putting into publicizing it. We have an opportunity to, this is something that we'll have to give a lot of thought to, work with our WEA, with you as the board, but there's opportunities here too with this Viking Digital Academy and our current students. And right now we have it set up through credit flexibility. I don't know what the actual solution is with this, but there's a lot of opportunity for things that we can't currently offer our students that we may want to try to eventually tap into. But again, that's a lot of collaborative work that would have to happen there. We'll see what we can do. We're working on implementing these Common Core standards, getting ready for these park assessments. Those park assessments are going to be done all online. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the technology area. There's also going to be end-of-course high school exams that the state is setting up in 10 subject areas. They're talking that those will become possibly 30% of the students' final grade in the course will be the students' end-of-course high school exam through the state. This is a huge undertaking. There's been a committee that's been up and running all year. I think they began work in somewhere around November on this teacher evaluation system. This is another thing that we are obligated by law to start to begin next school year. So we are currently working on the procedures, the process, the framework, what that will look like. Our intention is to have a board policy that we have to have in place by July 1, recommended to you. Our original intent is May, and we're trying to stick to that. It may end up being June, depending on how our work goes. At the same time, there's a lesser known part that's happening too. We have to transition over to this principal evaluation system that in many ways is set up very similar to the teachers. Then we also have this third grade reading guarantee, which you heard plenty about from Tracy a few months ago. And I know Tracy and those in her building have been consumed with the amount of time and work that has gone into meeting the different requirements of that. So this is a busy area for us, and this is a very important area because, you know, the things that we do within here, within, you know, curriculum instruction and assessment, are going to ultimately drive what you see when we get our report cards released. So we don't want to shortchange this. You know, we're already stretched thin with the personnel. As far as finance goes, this is unofficial. Todd will be bringing to you a revised 5-year forecast next month because he has to submit it to the state. But just plugging in the levy that was recently passed, this is where we are now financially. So this is really nice to see. Yeah, I think this is the first time I've ever showed you a 5-year forecast during the time I've been here where it hasn't been red everywhere down. And so we are on target, okay, as we told our community, to be able to get out in 5 years, the length of our current forecast with the levy that was passed. Another thing, I wanted to point this out, is there's a great tool that the Ohio Department of Education offers for anybody. And I do have this presentation. This is up on my website. So this is really hard to see, and I didn't put this up here for you to be able to read this. I just wanted to show you. And there's a web address that you can click on that will take you to this. This tool allows you in this column to select the district that you want to use. So if you could read this is Waterloo. Then it takes, I think it's the county averages in all of these areas, similar district areas, and those are the other 19 districts in the state that the state determines are very similar to us, and then a statewide average. And then you can plug in 3 other districts. You choose whoever you want. But this has all kinds of information, like cost of per pupil student. And for what that's worth, this is the brand new 2012 one just came out. Our cost per pupil, and so this is based off of fiscal year 12, which wouldn't have included cuts that happened for this current year we're in. Current cost per pupil here for us, $77,594. When they adjust and do what they call the expenditure per equivalent pupil, which takes into account disabilities and other things, our amount is $6,200, $6,232. And the county average on that per equivalent of pupil is 84. Similar district, 70, almost 77, and state average is 87. So you can see that we're well below in every measure there is when it comes to how much we're spending per pupil here in this district. But that's a great tool, and I would encourage you, if you have an interest in these different categories, this is a very easy way to find answers. Okay, we've talked about these a number of times. The only one I want to highlight here that is newer, very recent, is this snow plowing. And Todd ran some preliminary numbers as of today because we wanted to make it as accurate as we could. So if you remember, we moved this in-house this year because we thought it would save us some money. You approved $30,000 for us to spend most out of permanent improvement to buy the equipment that would be needed. So we purchased 2 trucks, one from the township, Randolph Township, and another used one off of an individual that we found. We purchased a salt spreader and a few other odds and ends equipment-wise. We spent $29,926 on equipment. So we came in under the $30,000 that we set aside. And as far as what it cost us to do the plowing with the salt and the personnel, it cost us $6,607. So for where does that put us in comparison? Just 2 years ago, the 10-11 year, we spent $39,110 just to pay somebody to be in here plowing. So we spent less money this year combined with the equipment than we did 2 years ago outsourcing this work. So I think this was, at least right now, this appears to be a very good move. The thing that's really good about this too, at the end of the day, money's money, but that's $33,000 compared to 2 years ago that we saved out of our general operating, because that third 29,926 for the equipment came out of PI. So we only had to spend $6,600 out of general operating this year. So we'll finalize all of those once we're certain that the snow's going for good. And we have all of the final numbers, but that's where it appears to be now. So yeah, I want to thank, I think that initially was Todd's idea to move the snow plowing in-house. And I want to thank Brian Munger, Tim Fox, and the OPSI Union for their willingness to find a way to make that happen with us. And Tim in particular was the point person and spent a lot of time coordinating all of that this year, but they did a fantastic job. Can't say enough about that. Yeah, it's where else in finances? We're well aware that our employees have really burdened a lot of the responsibility over the last few years with the freezes that they've taken, not only in base but in steps, with the insurance plan changes that have been made that have cost them more out of the pocket at the same time with salaries being frozen. Revenue sources, we've talked extensively about a lot of these, but just to give you some updates here. Okay, our space for the preschool, that seems to be going well here. That is saving us money on our bill at the county each year. This Portage Learning Centers, that seems to be going very well. They started here, and that was a big deal. They have 3 different programs that they run. That by and large seems to be going well, and we're happy to have them as a partner. This Digital Academy, last year the first year that we had 24 students in there. So when you think about that, that's 24 times $5,700 that we would have potentially lost somewhere else. And and I've said this a number of times, but when we do this Digital Academy, not only are we confident that we're getting quality service as far as the curriculum goes from our provider ACE, and that the kids are getting a good experience, but we're able to do that for about $1,600 for a full-time student. So that means $4,100 is staying in our operating budget, which is helping us then turn around and put more teachers in our classroom, or keep, I should say, keep people in the classrooms. This year, I think the numbers right now are about 11. We've been as high as 15. It fluctuates a little. Every year we seem to get a few that want to be in there, and then a couple weeks later they're back here at school. Medicaid reimbursement, we don't have an exact number on that yet, but this is bringing in, it's in the thousands. I think it's fair to say that the minimum that has brought in for us each year, Todd, has been about 30. Yes. But we're you have to go through an audit process on that, and that was just recently completed, and there may be some additional money, we're not sure. We're trying to get some clarification on that. And then obviously we're very thankful to our community for the gift of the operating emergency levy that they passed for us in February. So where do we go moving forward? It's on that detail sheet with tonight. The county approached us about having an MD unit here. We are going to move forward with that as long as we can work out all the logistical details with them. And there's no reason at the moment to believe we can't. So that will save us some money on some students we won't have to transport, so there's a potential savings there. But we will also get rent from the county. Shared services with other districts, like you mentioned before, we continue to explore the opportunity in the field and other opportunities that may arise that are a benefit for Waterloo. These are the type of ways that we're going to be able to save some money and put that back in to the classroom. The state biennial budget, I wanted to mention this because this could have some impacts on us. So originally when the governor released his proposal, we were going to go from no guarantee, we're not on a guarantee. The guarantee is the amount, the number of students that you can drop to, where if you lose any more, you stay at the same level of state funding. So this current year, we're 54 students above the guarantee. Under the governor's proposal that he came out with at the beginning of February, we moved from not being on it to being $1.1 million on it. And in one way, you think, oh, big deal, it's guaranteed. But he was very adamant that while he kept the guarantee for 2 years in this proposal, that it needed to either be completely eliminated or significantly phased out in the next budget. So that was a great concern for us because I think we got those numbers 2 days after we passed the levy. And had those numbers held true, in 2 years we would have been worse off than we were before we passed the levy. And so, you know, we went down, as numerous other places in the state did, and testified. They released, I don't know if it was yesterday or Tuesday, they released a new revised budget, the House did, that the House is supposed to vote on as a full House next week and then pass on to the Senate. So this is all still very preliminary. But it appears that in the House's version, we've gone from being 1.1 million on the guarantee to being about 279,000 on the guarantee. So we could have an $800,000 or $900,000 positive benefit for us in this new proposal. Now, where this goes, who knows? But this is definitely better for us. It's not where we want it to be, but it's better. Better
It's
than it
funny,
was.
you know, it's not additional money, it's just money that less money that we would have possibly lost under the
New program was 270.
Yes.
The old program
Was 1.1. So they are still flat funded. We're not under this House proposal, we're not receiving an increase in state money. They have down that our percentage difference is 0%. The difference is, they're not calling it the guarantee, the House is calling it temporary transitional aid. So even though there's no description of what that means, temporary probably does mean temporary. So we believe that that'll probably be, the intent would be with that to go away in 2 years also. But at least it's a much more manageable number. And hopefully this will still undergo some revisions when it goes through the Senate and Conference Committee before it's all done. And hopefully it'll look even better for us. We have a grant committee. The grant committee admittedly has not had success, but we keep trying. And so we've submitted some grants. They've been rejected. We've learned from them. And we continue to move forward. We have a meeting at the end of this month with some things that we're looking to do. We have an NLIT evaluation that will be coming up a couple months ago. I think it was actually last month. We brought forward to you for a minimal fee this company that evaluates about 150 different areas of operation in the district. And so Todd went through a webinar on that today, and those numbers will be provided to that company within the next week or so. And then we should get some very detailed information that we hope will help us hone in maybe on some other areas that we may have overlooked where there could be some additional savings. And then a couple other things here on this health front that are going to be big issues as we move forward here over the course of this next year and beyond. You know, the first is our insurance consortium, and it all comes out of this Affordable Health Care Act. But our insurance consortium is really trying to move towards a wellness initiative and give incentives for districts to get employees thinking and acting in a way that will increase the likelihood of wellness for them. And so there's some things that, you know, we formed a wellness committee here in the district. Some teachers are part of that they've met one time. And the goal, as soon as the consortium gets moving with the group that they have, is to get that group regularly meeting and offer opportunities. But there's been things going on here already with different classes that teachers are doing, and that policy revision that you did a few months ago that allowed for waivers to be signed for different parts of the building to be used have actually helped drive this initiative. We have a yoga class that's happening. These are all after school times. What's that dance thing called? Zumba. And a few other,
You're not with this committee.
I am not. Few other things. But these health insurance costs is something we're gonna have to keep our eyes on. And, you know, Chuck could speak to this much better than Todd or I could, but, you know, there's gonna be a lot of costs that are gonna come about with this Affordable Health Care Act. You know, they're changing the number of hours that are required for somebody. It's 30 hours now. After 30 hours, employers are required to provide insurance coverage. And there's fees. Well, what did they tell us recently? It's $73 a person or something?
$63 per covered individual.
Yeah, there's some tax that they just added that's coming out that's $63 per covered individual, and it just keeps shifting. And as they get further and further into this, so this is going to be a big deal for us because this may end up driving up costs with different things for us. And so we'll have to very much keep an eye on that. We're working very closely though with our insurance consortium and the consulting firm that consortium uses, Employee Benefits International. They're really on top of all of this and providing some really solid guidance. School community relations. We continue to do different things here. This past year, we implemented these student community service hours. You approved those last spring, and we have students that are actively doing that. Karen Schultz is tracking what the students are doing, and we'll recognize the first group of students with what they've done here at graduation and at the 8th grade ceremony at the end of this year. We continue to do our best to collaborate with these area colleges and universities. I think the movements that we've made this past year with that have especially been in the area of the dual credit. But we've had some discussions with NeoMed on some different professional development opportunities and different things, and we're hoping some of that will pan out. And then the big thing that we've really done in this area over the last year is this whole collaboration with the Community Action Committee. And they formed just a little over a year ago. And I think during that time that we've had at least 4 informational/educational sessions that Community Action Committee has sponsored that we've put on, and they've promoted and got people here. They're the ones that are, in many cases, are coming to us with the topics. And so that's been a really good thing. It's something that we sure hope that we can continue as we move forward this year. We were able to get some feedback from our technology survey that went out that I'll be taking to that meeting Tuesday night with some ideas on things that can be offered through that collaborative partnership of ours. The other thing that we're going to try to put some more focus on, we tried this last year, didn't have a lot of people, but I had set the committee meeting up, the one we tried to do right after school, because we had a number of staff that were interested in that. I wanted to make it when they could be there. We only had 2 people show, so the next attempt that I do with this will definitely be at night. And we can see when we can get the volunteers in here that are interested. But I still think we have an untapped resource in many ways. Don't get me wrong, we have a lot of very good volunteers here that spend a lot of time and that are utilized in a lot of ways, especially at the elementary school. But I think we still have some opportunities where we could tap into more resources with volunteers, and I think we have community people that want to do that too. As far as technology goes, things that we've done here over the course of this last year, we had this survey, and we still have those open. We'll be tabulating those results here soon, taking a look at those closely with the technology committee. But we put a survey out there to try to get a sense from parents and guardians and students on what type of devices they have access to outside of school. Whether parents, if there was educational value, would let kids bring things here, if they understood a little bit more about our bring your own device policy, this Meraki system that we have in place that can monitor what kids are on with those devices. So we're trying to get a sense on that because we have a lot of needs here too. One of the other areas that we've made cutbacks in has been not ordering new books and other things. And we're, quite honestly due for a lot of supplies that are needed, especially as we transition to the Common Core. So we want to make sure that as we look at doing that we do it in a way that's the most efficient and cost effective for us too. So if we're going to look at folks that either have a technology component with them or maybe are technology oriented solely. We want to make sure that those are going to be able to utilize that in the schools. So the results that we get from those surveys will be really, really important for us in some decisions we make moving forward. I threw this Meraki system on here. This wasn't within the last year, but I want to talk about that a little bit because one of the things I always hear with the bring your own device is that we can't really police and monitor what those kids are on. And while that's true to a sense, we do have a system in place where people that come on and access our system, whether it's through a phone, whether it's through a laptop, you have to sign in. And we are able to go back and take a look at where people had gone if needed. Our guys are actually able to, if we knew, for example, that we had a problem with students getting onto YouTube during the day and we didn't want that, they could cut down the amount of bandwidth that goes to that area so that kids would never be able to get on it. So there's a lot of oversight that can be done through that system, including going back and being able to track some things if we were ever in a situation where we needed to. We've continued to make this transition to our open source material, Google. I don't have a dollar amount that's saved us, but I'm sure it would save us money because we're no longer buying these licenses for other products that we used to. And then this past year, you approved a bunch of revised policies that allowed things like the bring your own device policy, updating our internet user agreement, those type of things. We put some things in place for staff as protection measures with texting and other stuff. So we're going to move forward in these areas. I think two areas. One is this online assessments. I mentioned before, those PARC tests are going to be done online. We don't have a choice in that. At least that's what they're saying right now. So there's been two tools that have been put out, one through PARC and one through the Ohio Department of Education, that Matt and Pete have gone through and filled out, and it's showing right now on both of those that we are sitting okay with the number of devices that we have, with the bandwidth that we have. So from what we can tell based off of those, we should be okay when this happens. The other thing I mentioned is this whole textbook purchasing. I'm not suggesting that all of a sudden all we're going to buy is online textbooks. But I think as we look to spend a significant amount of money on those resources, we'd be foolish not to look at stuff that involve technology with those two. As far as facilities, safety, security, and transportation, this past year we've updated our safety plan, including that Alice procedure. We still have a little bit of work to do on there. We have some changes that have to take place to kind of break our zones off. There are things within the building that we want to have, but by and large, we've updated all of those safety measures. We had that safety committee that had numerous people on it, from Sheriff Doak to both of the fire chiefs, one Chief Lang from Randolph, Chief Russell from Atwater, other members of their department. We had a couple others from Portage County Sheriffs, retired Renfield Police Chief, State Highway Patrol, and a number of staff. So there was a whole wide range of people bringing different perspectives. And we really went through, especially the intruder portion for safety. But we also revised other areas in our safety plan that needed to be updated as well. One of the big changes, as you're aware, was our buzzer system that we started to utilize at the main entrances, so all the doors are locked now during the school day. I think by and large that has gone fairly well. There haven't been too many complaints that I've heard. I'm speaking out of line on that or not, but there's not much that has gotten to me. There was a lot up front with concerns about how it would work, especially from the secretaries who are responsible for buzzing people in. But I think it's worked fairly well. The video cameras, we recently updated with your approval a few meetings ago, back in November. We updated our DVR system because we were having gaps in the times and our system wasn't working and functional like it should. So we switched our vendor from ADT to Aparco on January 1st of this year. At the same time, we updated all of the DVRs and we added a few cameras in the parking lot. And so it's been good. The quality of the pictures that we can see are much better. And we're not getting our gaps in when we go to look for stuff anymore. So camera system seems to be working well. We've continued to monitor our exterior lighting. You know, we put those kill switches on a couple of years ago. And one of the concerns had to do with safety. And so we worked with the sheriff's department at that time and the architect to make sure we had them on in the right place. And we continue to tweak that to make sure that we don't have areas that can become problematic. And then the other thing is updating our bus fleet. We've taken some of the permanent improvement money over the course of the last year. We've purchased a few new buses. We've purchased a few that were newer for us but used. They were a very good price. And on top of that, we've had one bus that was completely rebuilt by our mechanics, Tim and Joe, and another bus that they substantially rebuilt. And so, you know, those are capabilities that I'm not sure that we had before this past year in that area for transportation. So our fleet, you know, while we had not done anything with it for a few years because we wanted to conserve the little money that's left in that PI account, I think by and large our fleet, quite honestly, is probably in better shape now than it's been in many, many years, I would say. I feel comfortable saying that. So moving ahead, we already talked about the first part. You know, Frank Rossi with the boosters backing is out there working hard on his own initiative to see what he can do for that stadium facility improvement fund. We have some exterior work on the building that we're hoping will happen this summer. We've been working with Hummel Construction, Hammond, and the architect on some areas where we've had water problems since on and off since the buildings were built. And so we're hopefully coming close to a resolution with all of that, and that work should be completed this summer. One area that we want to do, and we will focus on that especially as we move forward, is monitoring these bus routes to make sure that we're achieving efficiency. They are very crowded. They are, but we still may be able to be a little bit more efficient in that area. And then this last one is something that would be very helpful for us. There's a number of times where, more often than not, where we have situations that happen on the bus, and it would be very helpful if we had the ability to go back and look at something. And I think both are, I think I speak on everything else. I think our drivers would feel better having those on there. And I think many times parents would too, with different concerns that they get raised. So the problem with that is that's about a $25,000 job to do our fleet. And so we've been trying to find and locate some grants that can purchase those rather than have to go into our PI funds. We want to make that a real focus and try to, by the time I'm talking to you about this again next year, I want that to be a done issue because that's been on the agenda for a couple of years now. That's what I have. So that's our areas. That's where we stand. I think that's where we're heading as we move forward. I think you'll see things brought forth to you that fall completely in line with those thoughts. Sorry, any questions?
Just one that came up. When you say we had 25 in the Bison Digital Academy, now we have 11. But then you did comment later that most of those that have left there have come back into the field.
Yes, some of those. Yeah, if they've left there.
So we should have gained a little bit there. Because
Yeah, they never really left our district. They just went from the online mode to the traditional mode, and some of them graduated.
Okay.
Can we bring our CL? I don't know. We have not. We explored that a couple of years ago and decided against that because of cost. Is there a way to do that possibly through the county? Maybe. It's a possibility. We do, we got down to the point where we only had, so the cooperative learning program, which is in Ravenna this year, we were to a point last year where I'm not even sure we had any. If we had any, it was one. Now I believe we're up to 4 that are over there. So if that number continues to grow, then it's definitely worth reevaluating again.
What
That-
program is that?
It focuses on behavioral issues.
When you created your delayed start and your labor days and everything, do you certify those programs so the staff can see use so that they can get it applies towards their recertification? We've done that with both our physician groups and our management groups, and we have our day sessions and things like that. We try to get them certified so that you get the CEUs, and that helps them then defer additional costs that they would have involved somewhere down the road.
Have you done it?
We have done that through LPDC, that especially last year when we did a lot of the new technology teaching, that they received the clock hours for it, which in turn convert to CEUs, which they may use then to renew certificates. We
don't
have
do
not
that
done it as much this year, but it is something we have talked about in LPDC, that allowing the people that automatically, they can get the clock hours for this, if they so choose to, for that. And yes, it is something that's really needed for our staff to be able to. That would help cut down some on even tuition reimbursement, if they can get hours this way too, as a possibility. But Todd's also in on that meeting. And that we have done that in the past.
Any other questions?
Is anyone opposed to pay someone who's not idle work, but have them in somebody else's, if you don't really share service with you, or I just think with what's coming, it would benefit all of us here so much. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. I
Excellent
know.
presentation, very thorough.
Sure. What you want to hear is the clock tonight.
It's not 10 yet.
Close.
Oh, listen, that's how long we usually do it.
We're not done yet.
Yes.
I know, but I'm saying,
And the treasurer.
well, they're gonna be here almost all the time tonight until we go to executive session. You gotta get a feel for what we usually have.
Make it quick.
Bring us to item 7, treasurer.
I'm real quick tonight. Just 2 things to add to the consent agenda under superintendent's business, the addendum letter K. And also, we need to add the second executive session. The reason for going in is to add letter E, matters required to be kept confidential by federal law or rules or state statutes. So items will be A2, D, and E. What I have.
Okay, well, mine will be really fast because I didn't make a meeting last month because Macy's fire conference, so there's a little paper that was missing. That's all I have.
Legislative update, Sam?
And I'll be really quick also, since Andy's already touched on a lot of the priority issue that's coming out of Columbus. House Bill 59 is a priority issue. Obviously, the governor has already submitted his proposals, and the House has countered with their own proposals. And I believe in the next week, hopefully by the 18th, I think I read somewhere, they would hope to have a vote from Representative Amstutz. Is hoping to have a vote by then to send to the Senate. So this is going to be a busy week for them, and we'll have to see where the chips fall. to have something a little clearer picture of where we're going to stand. If you haven't seen a review of, in your briefcase, I believe that was the briefcase I was reading, or it might have been online. They did kind of a shorter version of all the things that are involved with House Bill 59. It'd be a good opportunity to look it over. That'll be it for now.
Okay, item 10, new business. Any new business from any board members?
I just have one quick thing. Just about 3 years ago, we had a student that was here, that graduated 3 years ago, and it was something that was different than what, we usually promote, but he actually was on the Ohio pistol, on a pistol team, rifle and pistol team, and he got a full ride scholarship to Ohio State. And I know it's different, I know it's nothing here, but it is a community thing. And we do have another student right now that's a junior. It's a girl that she's looking to also get the same thing. So anyway, the student's name is Joe Todd. He got a full ride scholarship to Ohio State. And just a little bit ago, they had the National Intercollegiate Pistol Championships. The Ohio State team came in fourth, which you would think, oh, that's not great, but this is who they came in behind. The U.S. Military Academy, West Point, the U.S. Naval Academy, and the Citadel. So, and above all of that, with all of those competing, Joe was the national individual champion in the standard pistol event. So he was the national champion above, not to put down our military, because I love our military, but I just think that's a real accomplishment, because he's also going to college and keeping up with his grades and everything else, and they do live in the community, so, and they still come and, his parents and him came to the band concert and that we had a little bit ago, and I mean, they still support us, and they do support us, so, and I think that's just something to be applauded, because I think that's great for him and for the community, so, kind of impressive.
Joe, actually, they started the shooting in Scouts, Cub Scouts, and Boy Scouts, and that, there was a group of them that continued on, and they competed, and then when they graduated high school, Joey was the only one who went further, so that is great to see.
But it is wonderful. Like I said, we have one student now, and she is a junior, and I believe she'll probably be heading in that same direction. So it's a way, and honestly, I don't know her whole situation, but I mean, I don't know that they have a lot of funds as far as college goes, and if she can do this for that consumption. So it's great that we have that going on too in the community. So that was it.
Great. Anything else from the other members? Good. Okay. That brings us to item 11, consent agenda.
Yeah, just one item to say, Ron Rogers, he's been a bus driver here a little less than a year. That hasn't been a long time, but he's done a very nice job. He was offered a position with more hours over in Alliance, so he left at the end of March. So I just want to thank Ron for his time and wishing him the best.
Great. So we're basically looking at consent agendas item 11, A through K.
Treasurer's business.
A and B. We have a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Any second, me first. Any comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Gump,
Yes.
Whittlesey, Musateri,
Yes.
Fletcher,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to item 12.
And I do this, I guess, every
Yeah.
recommend to issue a salary notice to Jennifer Musateri for the 2013-14 school year contingent upon full and complete compliance with the state of Ohio and Waterloo Board of Education eligibility criteria.
Do I have a motion?
So,
Second, please.
Second.
Just comment, I guess everybody here would know this, but I have to abstain from this because Jennifer is my wife. So if she would have been included in the other, with the other ones, I'd have had to abstain from all the other salary notices and the rest of the consent agenda, so this was broken out separately. So. Roll call, please, Tom.
Gump,
Yes.
Whittlesey,
Yes.
Musatari,
Abstain?
Fletcher,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Recommend to approve the suspension of contracts for the following certified staff effective with the 13-14 school year due to a reduction in force. And the details on that are written down on the detail sheet.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, please. Okay, any comments or questions?
Once we know funding, then we'll know.
Yeah.
Who
Once
we
we
bring
get
back,
our,
right?
once we get our funding, we'll know what we can do.
This is, we do this every year.
Yes.
All right.
Could be August before we know.
Right, usually comes in the end of July, so we. All right, roll call, please, Tom.
Gump,
Yes.
Whittlesey.
Yes.
Musatari,
Yes.
Fletcher,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Okay, may we have a motion to recess into executive session to discuss employment? Hold on, one second. Preparing, conducting negotiations, and also to discuss matters required to be kept confidential by federal law or rule of state statutes.
Now I move.
Any comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Gump, Whittlesey. Musatari,
Yes.
Fletcher,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
What's that?
Supervisor Ice
We don't, Ron, we don't
Yes.
anticipate any.
We don't anticipate that.
I didn't want to leave you hanging. I appreciate the pause, and I'm here back. It's just